Hey, Elise Pickett here with the Urban Harvest, and today we are going to talk about raised bed gardens. We're going to go over some of the pros and cons of using a raised bed vegetable garden, as well as different ideas for raised bed gardens. For most of the country, deciding whether to use raised beds for your garden is definitely something to weigh out and think about. Here in Florida, it's pretty much a necessity. There are ways to work around it, but in most cases, raised bed vegetable gardens are the way to grow. There are a ton of benefits to using raised beds as a garden. It allows for better drainage. It's a no-till and discourages walking into the beds, which leaves the soil ecosystem that you can build up very healthy and robust. It does also help with allowing you to bring in quality soil. So here in Florida, our soil is quite sandy and it loses all of the nutrients we put into it rather quickly. It also is not great for water retention. So by using the raised beds, we're able to bring in super high quality soil and actually have it stay there instead of leaking away into the sand. Some people limit themselves though on what their definition of a raised bed is. I have grown a lot of gardens and a lot of different ways, and my definition of raised beds has certainly changed over time. But you don't have to just use the wood frame bed or the metal raised beds. You can also do things like mounded rows or built-in beds around the perimeter of your home, or rocks for an herb garden or a flower garden. You can also repurpose a lot of materials that were laying around your yard or somewhere in your community, and you repurpose them into a garden bed. So there are a lot of different options, and not all of them have to break the bank. One of my favorite ways to do raised bed gardens is with wood. There are a few things to know though when you're doing it with wood. One is, do not use pressure treated wood if you have any inkling of an organic vegetable garden. Pressure treated wood will leak into your soil and it will remain in your soil. So definitely avoid using that. And that does apply to salvaged materials. So just make sure you do your research and find out whether it has been treated or not. As far as purchasing new wood for your garden beds, I would recommend either using cedar or cypress. Both of them have natural resins in the wood, which make them less appealing to pests and bugs, and therefore take longer to rot and decay. As a side note, wood or any raised bed should be a minimum of 18 inches deep to allow the roots of many vegetable crops to really get what they need out of the soil. So if you don't have 18 inches above ground in your bed, make sure to either dig down into the existing soil below or stack multiple boards on top of each other to achieve that 18-inch depth. Some people will go as deep as 3 foot, and the vegetables certainly will not complain, but it's not necessary either. Raised bed gardens can be a bit of a bear to fill, either using your precious resources of homemade compost or buying bulk soil and having to amend it. Those are valuable resources. So filling raised beds can be difficult in that sense. I do have 2 videos that discuss how to fill them affordably and to maximize your resources. So go ahead and check that card out if you're interested in learning more about that. If you don't have the skill set or access to tools, there are kits that you can purchase where the beds come pre-packed and all you need are a screwdriver and maybe a wrench to assemble the entire bed. So they can be very, very simple to put together, but with that ease of use, you are going to be paying a higher price tag. A big consideration when you're looking to make your raised beds is cost. In most cases, especially if you're going to a kit style raised bed, they can get quite expensive. But if you're willing to think outside of the box or to bide your time until something becomes available, you can often find used or free materials that serve as wonderful garden beds for you for little or no cost at all. They've made their way to my garden and now they are being repurposed from some sort of water pipe to a productive raised bed garden for free. There are some pros and cons when it comes to watering a raised bed garden. On one hand, it is quite beneficial if your area is prone to flooding or if you get heavy thunderstorms like we do here in summer. It allows the water to drain out of the soil much quicker. As a counter to that, you will have to water your raised beds more because of that drainage. So you will be irrigating those beds more frequently than if you had beds in the ground. Pros and cons, but for Florida, with all of the other factors considered, watering a little bit extra isn't such a bad thing. Raised beds are a tremendous help when it comes to weeding, as long as they are set up properly. So before planting your bed, you definitely want to make sure that you've removed any old soil that may have weed seed or grass seed in it, or if you don't remove it and replace it, to make sure that you have a really good weed barrier, whether that be overlapped cardboard or the plastic stuff that you can buy at some of the big box stores. Just make sure you have a really good barrier between the old soil and the new. If you do that part right, your raised bed should need little to no weeding at all. Definite perk. Raised garden beds are the way to go when it comes to gardening in Florida, especially vegetable gardening. I hope this gives you a starting point for understanding some of the benefits and downfalls to having a raised bed garden, and also helping to kind of unlock some of that creativity and give you some ideas for different raised bed gardens that you can make in your home. If you found this helpful, make sure to head on down and hit the thumbs up button, and while you're down there, the subscribe button, so you're alerted every time a new video comes out on Florida-based vegetable gardening. Have a beautiful day.